Hey everyone, I'm gonna try to roll with this today unscripted, and I'm gonna try to focus. My quick topic for today is going to be purging your deck collection if you're not using any or most of your deck collection. And I've had this major problem for a little while now because I'm one of those people that when life gets me hard, getting decks is a bad habit of a coping mechanism, and that's a shadow self that I have to look and recognize in myself. That no, this is not okay to be spending your life savings on tarot decks that you're never going to use, and it's not a good coping mechanism. And we're going to kind of talk about coping mechanisms today too. Touch on that. I'm going to probably make a dedicated video to that later on. But as of today, I'm going to try to focus on purging your tarot decks for whatever reason. If you have coping mechanisms or that you're compulsively buying something, or you're in a state where you have like 100 plus decks and you're not using any of it, just the 10% or the 10 decks that you really is personal to you, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. I kind of did an Instagrammy thing, a post of saying maybe it's a fall cleanup and let's go ahead and start purging our decks and getting that ball rolling. I say that getting the ball rolling on purging your deck collection is going to be the hardest part because you really don't know what when you first start out purging your tarot deck collection. It's kind of hard because you really are like, I like them all, I want them all, that they're all mine, and you start becoming one of those hoarders you see on the hoarder shows, with that, the dirty yards and my next door neighbor. My next door neighbor. But that has trash in the yards, and they are buried up to here in the house and everything like that. You've seen people like that, and if you are one of those kind of people, it's okay. You're a collector. I got you. And but as far as tarot deck collections, we're kind of in that same mindset, the hoarding, the collecting mindset. If we you were like, it's not hoarding, it's totally collecting. And that's an unhealthy mindset when it comes to collecting decks that are not benefiting you. And I gotta pick on one person, and it's Sacred Seed. She has 80 plus decks. However, I feel like she kind of has a purpose for those 80 plus decks. Yeah, she might not read with all those 80 plus decks, but sometimes those 80 plus decks, a lot of those vintage decks that she has, are for a purpose, and they're for study purposes. And I'm not saying that there's any wrong with study decks and you just only have a certain amount of decks that you study with. But I'm talking about decks and deck collections that are like, you're not even using several decks or cards or oracle sets or whatever. You're holding on to these decks that don't even serve you for study purposes. Like, I came to um, an agreement with my Kabbalistic Visions Tarot. It's not a deck that I will ever read with. I came to that loving and acceptance with that deck that just says, I'm never going to read it with a client or even read it for myself, but to study the images and to get a deeper understanding of the fog, the deck itself, the color therapy, the this and the that. I've talked about it in my channel before, and it is such a wonderful study deck. I cannot ask for any better deck for study than that deck. Um, but I'm talking about the decks that are like the Doreen Virtue decks in your deck collection that you're like, I hate it, but I'm gonna keep it in my collection because the artwork is cool. Don't do that. I've decided, not decided, I've discovered in myself that I was doing that. I was keeping decks because I like the pretty artwork and I was not reading it whatsoever. Yesterday, not a moment's notice, as soon as I posted my Line Strider Tarot on my Instagram, saying that I'm trying to reconnect with it. I'm trying to do that Romney spread layout to see if it is something I can read with for my clientele because I now have a tarot business. And I've discovered that Line Strider deck, yeah, it was white. Too white for me. Yes, the images are simplistic like I like it, and sometimes in those kind of big spreads. However, it was madness. I just could not get myself to connect with the deck. The guidebook kind of came back to me, and I was not connecting with that guidebook either. I was just not. But as soon as I posted that picture on Instagram and said that I'm trying to work with this deck and see if I could connect with it, I had a sweet girl, I forgot her name, but she immediately jumped on my post and said, I want your deck if you can't connect with it. Not even a moment of me posting that post, she immediately jumped on it and wanted that Line Strider deck. And my inner self just said, even though I want to connect to my Line Strider deck, I have to let it go to somebody who is yearning to use that deck the way it was meant to be and in a way that I'll never do. So I said to her, yes, I'll trade with you. And so I trade for it, and she had two decks that I was interested in, and one was the Prismus Visions Tarot, and I would love a backup copy of my Prisma Visions. However, I already told myself, Evelyn, you already have a Prisma Visions Tarot in your deck collection that is just sitting there collecting dust. Get the other deck. And the other deck was the Roaring Tarot, and that one was like a for me because it's a Spanish version, but it's one of those collector's decks that some people I've seen the first edition Rurik Tarot on eBay go for $1,000. That is crazy. I've never seen a deck go for that much, except for some Baba Studio first edition decks. But that Rurik Tarot, I was like, Spanish edition, same deck. Go ahead. Let me go ahead and get that. I get that. So I got it, and it's gonna come to me sometime in November, I'm guessing. So, but it's I'm interested in that deck. I saw some images of that deck, and I'm interested in it because it kind of reminds me of the um, Handel Tarot that I have. That I can't get over all those correspondence errors. The correspondences to that deck is like, count your eyes out. I saw some of the correspondences to the Rurik Tarot, and I'm like, I cannot do that either. But it was not all correspondences, kind of like the Handel Tarot. It was kind of its own system in a way too. So I'm curious to um, try to see if I can connect to that deck and work with that deck. Okay, back to my hoarding and deck collection tendencies. So that's what I've been up to, and I want to challenge people, if you can, to reevaluate your deck collection. And if you want to make a video response, that's even better. But challenge you all to look at your deck collection in a real way and say, is it something that I'm going to use, or is it better for somebody else to get excited over it and have it as their favorite deck? Because there was another deck that I had in my collection that was the Tarot of the Hidden Realms. I traded it for a Native American Oracle deck, which my husband loved, by the way. So it was worth it. But the the girl I traded to, she posts that deck all the time on Instagram with her stuff, and I'm like, that was my deck. It makes me feel so good to see somebody giving it the love that I couldn't give it. And that's what I'm talking about. You've got to start giving something to somebody else that you can't give the love to. Because I'm guaranteeing you that somebody else will give that deck some love that you couldn't give it before. And that's kind of my challenge and my lecture of the day. And I hope you all will consider my advice at heart. And I would be very curious to see some real video responses to this, or something that just see what kind of decks don't gel with you. I know that somebody probably did a deck challenge of decks that top 10, 5 unused tarot decks, I think. But that's kind of part of it. But yeah, it was somebody did a top 5 and I did a top 5 for it way back in June, I'm guessing. I don't remember who and what my video looked like or what was in my video, but it is one of those things that I would love to see what people would say about cleaning their deck collection and making sure it is what you wanted originally. And you all have a good day.